It is entitled White Evangelicals, This is Why People Are Through with You. And here's his open letter. He said, "Dear white evangelicals, I need to tell you something. People have had it with you. They're done. They want nothing to do with you any longer. And here's why. They see your hypocrisy, your inconsistency, your incredibly selective mercy, and your thinly veiled supremacy. For 8 years, they watched you relentlessly demonize a black president, a man faithfully married for 26 years, a doting father and husband without a hint of moral scandal or the slightest whiff of infidelity. They watched you deny his personal faith, convictions, argue his birthplace, and assail his character, all without cause or evidence. They saw you brandish scriptures to malign him and to use the laziest of racial stereotypes in criticizing him. And through it all, white evangelicals, you never once suggested that God placed him where he was. You never publicly offered prayers for him and his family. You never welcomed him to your Christian universities. You never gave him the benefit of the doubt in any instance. You never spoke of offering him forgiveness or mercy. Your evangelists never publicly thanked God for his leadership. Your pastors never took to the pulpit to offer solidarity with him. You never made any effort to affirm his humanity or show the love of Jesus to him in any quantifiable measure. You violently opposed him at every single turn without offering a single ounce of the grace you claim as the heart of your faith tradition. You jettisoned Jesus as you dispensed damnation on him. And yet you give carte blanche to a white Republican man so riddled with depravity, so littered with extramarital affairs, so unapologetically vile, with such a vast resume of moral filth that the mind boggles. And the change in you is unmistakable. It has been an astonishing conversion to behold, a being born again. With him, you subtly find religion. With him, you're now willing to offer full absolution. With him, all is forgiven without repentance or admission. With him, you're suddenly able to see some invisible, deeply buried heart. With him, sin has become unimportant, compassion no longer a requirement. With him, you only see providence. And white evangelicals, all those people who have had it with you, they see it clearly. They recognize the toxic source of your inconsistency. They see that pigmentation and party are your sole deities. They see that you aren't interested in perpetuating the love of God or emulating the heart of Jesus. They see that you aren't burdened to love the least or to be agents of compassion or to care for your Muslim, gay, African, female, or poor neighbors as yourself. They see that all you're really interested in doing is making a God in your own ivory image and demanding that the world bow down to it. They recognize this all about white, Republican Jesus, not dark-skinned Jesus of Nazareth. And I know you don't realize it, but you're digging your own grave in these days, the grave of your very faith tradition. Your willingness to align yourself with cruelty is a costly marriage. Yes, you've gained a Supreme Court seat, a few months with the presidency as a mouthpiece, and the cheap high of temporary power, but you've lost a whole lot more. You've lost an audience with millions of wise, decent, good-hearted, faithful people with eyes to see this ugliness. You've lost any moral high ground or spiritual authority with a generation. You've lost any semblance of Christ-likeness. You've lost the plot. And most of all, you've lost your soul. I know it's likely you'll dismiss these words. The fact that you've even made your bed with such malevolence shows how far gone you are and how insulated you are from the reality in front of you. But I had to try at least to reach you. It's what Jesus would do. Maybe you need to read what he said again if he still matters to you. That is an open letter, White Evangelicals, This is Why People Are Through with You, by John Pavlovich. You can read it at johnpavlovitz.com. That's John, Pavlovitz.com. Extremely powerful words. And and it's 2 years old, but I felt like not enough people have heard it, and so I'm re-upping it, and I hope that that you felt that, because that's the truth. The truth of the matter is, it is exposing. If I deferred with him in any place, I would say that this is who they've always been. Maybe we're just realizing it because of Donald Trump. Maybe no. Maybe you're just realizing it because of how they treated Barack Obama as opposed to Donald Trump. But this is who they have always been. People try to figure out how could it be that Christians would raise $300,000 for Kyle Rittenhouse, the man who shot and killed 2 protesters in Kenosha. They were like, what kind of Christians are these? These are the exact same Christians who would go to church, lynch us on Saturday night and go to church on Sunday morning, or go to church on Sunday morning and lynch us on Sunday afternoon. It's the same Christians that we had to oppose to get our civil rights. And they're the same Christians who are lined up against us because we're fighting against the police state, and they're ready to damn near go to civil war with us. It's the same Christians that fall prey willingly and happily to the QAnon idiocy. It's the type of Christians who view Christianity through the lens of power versus through the lens of the oppressed. They look at it as a tool to maintain their power versus as a tool to liberate people from the powerful. It's this type of Christians who will never admit it, but they are on the side of Pharaoh and not on the side of Moses. You can't possibly read the Bible and be a person who's concerned about liberating people and not identify with Moses in the story of the children of Israel coming out of Egypt. But how can white evangelicals look at that story and believe that they are figuratively the children of Israel or the Moses in the narrative? How can they look at themselves and feel like they are the protagonists in the narrative when in fact they sit in the position and in the seat of Pharaoh all the time? In every way imaginable, politically, economically, socially, they are literally, or rather figuratively, sitting in the seat of Pharaoh. And so, of course, they have to reinterpret the entire Bible to bring some type of justification to them claiming to be Christians. But at the end of the day, they use the Bible as a tool, like most of European history, to be sure, has been laced with people utilizing the Bible as a tool to amass power. So we can go far beyond modern history, go far beyond Jim Crow era. We can go far beyond slavery. We can go back to all the wars, the Crusades, and look that there's a consistent thread. Whenever the Bible has been given into the hands of powerful people, they refuse to interpret it in a way that would liberate the marginalized, the oppressed, because they are the oppressor. So that's the only place I would disagree with this, is that this is not new. It's just that perhaps John, who I support his work, but perhaps he's just coming to terms with it. I came to terms with this many, many years ago when I realized that there had to be a fundamentally different way that I view God versus the people who I realize we're fighting against in order to get our liberation. White evangelicals, white conservative evangelicals, to be more precise. And even more precise, white conservative evangelicals who refuse to interpret the Bible through the lens of the oppressed and refuse to use the Bible as a tool to liberate people, but instead use it as a bludgeoning tool to maintain their power. And they sit in the seat of Pharaoh, but they pretend as though they are Moses. Talk to you later.